Good morning and welcome today to My Sweet Home Living. My name is Tracy Campbell and you are joining me for my 30-minute time segment in the amazing Friday Marathon event that's happening all day long up until 6 p.m. Central Time today, Friday, December the 8th, called Away in a Manger. We have 24 amazing presenters, creators, artists, designers that are going live for broadcasting streams over there in that group. So if you love all things Away in a Manger themed, Nativity scene themed, I encourage you to check us out over there in the Craft on the Clock group on Facebook. Welcome today. My name is Tracy Campbell. If you are new here, please let me know. I'd love to see you in the comments below today as I show you an amazing vintage themed accent piece that you can use maybe in your nativity scene. And if not, you can definitely use it as just a holiday accent piece in your home decor this season. We're going to be taking a glass jar. This is a jalapeno jar. We're going to repurpose it today, and I'm going to show you how to use it in combination with some vintage items to make it something beautiful that you'll be proud to display in your home. We're going to make it all unique, and I have some fun pieces that we're going to be using as the accents to go with this piece, that will complement it very well. If you love things that are vintage, like spindles, I have some vintage candlestick, and a lot of thrifted type finds. So I can't wait to show you how we're going to put all this together today, you guys. Hop on in here. We have already had several creators this morning. We started at 6 a.m. So let me tell you something. If you have missed anyone, or if you're catching this later and you're thinking, oh, I missed the event, all of today's replays will be available for the next probably 24 to 48 hours up in the featured section of the Craft on the Clock group. And if you don't hit us over there between, in the next 24 to 48 hours, you can search the Craft on the Clock group for the hashtag Away in a Manger. We'll have all of our broadcasts tagged with that hashtag, and so you can find them all later then. How about that? We try to make it easy for you to find what you need over there. So while we are getting ready, I've got all my things spread out here. I'm working with, like I said, a glass. This is a jalapeno jar, you guys. One of those cheap kind of jalapenos. I'm not crazy about jalapeno peppers, but my husband is. But there's no way he could put away this amount of peppers in a short amount of time. So honestly, I just bought the jar of jalapenos so I could use the jar. It was only like $3. I'm thinking, okay, $3 for a jar, I can do it. So that's what we're doing today, you guys. Hop on in here. We're going to use some of our favorite supplies, things like, maybe some coffee grunge, to kind of take this piece from trash to something that you're going to treasure, you guys. All right, so, I also have this item. Oh, you can't wait to see how this is all going to come together, you guys. Let's hop to it. All right, so let's start. I'm sitting on my cord, you guys. How did that happen? I only had to disconnect and get up and get something else about 3 times before I hit the live button this morning. Good morning, Deborah. Good morning, Jackie, Rochelle, and Cheryl. I'm so excited y'all are here today. Thank you so much for showing up. So I have a printable. I went to Pinterest and started searching Away in a Manger music sheet printable. This came up. I saved it on my phone, sent it from my phone to my home printer, and I just printed it on some regular copy paper, you guys. Nothing fancy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you can use water. I'm going to use my coffee grunge. What you basically need to do is to wet the edges. We're going to do a feather tear along the edge of this printable. This was a freebie, you guys. If you would like this printable, I can probably put it in the comments after this video, and you can have it to print for your own. I'm taking my coffee grunge. I'm going around the edges because I want to tear this paper, and we're going to decoupage it onto our jar. And I can't wait to see how this turns out. So let me tell you real quick how this worked out in the last 24 hours. We all have been so busy. And so I knew this day was coming. I knew I needed a project. And I thought, I've already done my big nativity scene project. If you missed that, you'll have to go back and catch it on my page. I've got some video replays. It's actually, you can get inspiration. I have 3 different videos. But I made made an angel. I made a Mary and Joseph, the whole manger and everything, out of Dollar Tree mop heads, okay? And put it all together into a cute vignette that I used, that I showed you guys, I think it was last week. And so I'm going to do it on a second page too, because I'm going to need 2 sheets to cover my jar. Let's tilt our camera down just a bit. Good morning, Miss Nancy. How are you? I'm so excited y'all are here. Happy Friday, Carol, to you as well. So excited. So I kept thinking, okay, well, something's going to come to me. You know, I'll get inspiration, you know, along the way. Some point this week, something will strike me and I'll have that aha moment. No, it didn't happen. So come yesterday morning, I still didn't have a project in mind, but I had meetings lined up. I had, you know, things to do here for, you know, mom duties, you know, things that I had to do, and I just didn't have time to really look for inspiration. I've gone to Pinterest a few times thinking, okay, something I see may just give me an idea. No. No, still no. Last night, I was getting ready to go to sleep, getting ready to go to bed, kind of relax a little bit, and thought, okay, I'll just kind of browse around, look at some ideas on Pinterest again, think about the things that I have, what can I do, inspiration. I had a couple of maybe ideas, but I just wasn't set on them. And I thought, okay, you know, what am I going to do? I have no idea. All right, so I'm taking my coffee grunge. You guys, coffee grunge is just a mixture of instant coffee, vanilla, and cinnamon, okay, and water, of course. I have the mixture recipe at the top, pinned at the top of my Facebook page. Is a cup of hot water, a half a cup of instant coffee, and then 2 tablespoons of cinnamon and 2 tablespoons of vanilla. Go cheap. Don't get anything really expensive. Cheaper works just fine. Cheap. Don't spend a lot of money on your ingredients. And I'm just using that to, and you can adjust those measurements, because sometimes there are some vanilla brands that are a little bit darker than others. I have learned that along the way. I'm just going over the front of this paper, giving it a little bit of a vintage look. So I'll take it from this to this in a matter of 2 seconds, and it smells amazing. I'm going to set my dryer on that for a minute. I'm going to go over this piece. I was just about in panic mode, and I got up early this morning, set my alarm early to kind of look around and get some ideas. I still couldn't settle on an idea. Our first presenter went live. I was still scrambling for a good idea. So I don't know what it was that struck me. I kind of had something in my mind. And I really still can't figure out what it was that made me think of this. It might come to me. And I was still putting things together 30 minutes ago of pieces and elements that I thought I could add to this. But it kind of has evolved in the last, I'm not kidding you, 30 minutes. I've put this idea together, and hopefully it'll pan out. You never know how it's going to go, but I think we're onto something here. All right, so we're going to dry this paper. This is kind of a little bit blotchy. I don't want it blotchy. Let's kind of smooth that out a little bit. I kind of like it a little bit blotchy, but that was a little too much. And I don't want to go crazy because I don't want it to take too long to dry. All right, so this one is already dry enough. I'm going to decoupage it onto this jar. Now, it's obviously going to be too long for my jar. I'm okay with that. What I do want to make sure, got coffee grunge on my hands, you guys. I do want to make sure that my title, my song title, is visible at the top of my jar. Now, let me show you this other little vintage piece. I have no idea what it came off of. It looks like it could have came off of an old candlestick or maybe like a lampshade. I don't know. But I love the shape of it. I love the detail of it, and I love the colors. I grabbed this on our last little meetup in West Kentucky at a store called Anything Goes. I have no idea. They have the most random items, junk, for like as far as you can see, almost just spread out in the wide open, you guys. And I I can do something with that. So here's my idea. This jar even still has the sticky on the label, the residue. I'm not even going to worry about that because I'm covering it up. I'm going to put this on the top, okay? Now, it doesn't completely go down over it, but we're going to fix that. It's not going to be a problem. What I'm going to do, I want to make sure that this is visible up to that point, and even down a little bit lower, because I'm going to use some material. I'm going to use some coffee grounds cheesecloth at the top up there to kind of hide that little area, that transition from this little piece to the jar, so I don't have to take it up quite so high. So we'll see how it goes here. All right, now I did not bring an extra sponge brush to the table, so I'm going to have to use my coffee grounds sponge in my Mod Podge. That's okay. I use coffee grounds and Mod Podge hand in hand all the time, so if I contaminate my bottle, I do. You guys do what you need to do, but that's what I had to do. Okay, coffee grounds and Mod Podge is going on the jar. You don't have to add the coffee grounds to your Mod Podge, you guys. I just had to double dip my brush here because that's the only brush I had on the table. Okay, a light coating, and then my paper is going on. Whoa, 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 don't go away. Don't go anywhere. All right, so let's slide it down just a little bit. And I'm okay if it's wrinkly because I've already coffee grounded this paper and it will get a little bit of a wrinkle to it. I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that because this is going to be meant to look vintage. All the elements to this is all going to appear vintage, so I'm totally okay with that. Now, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to just kind of take my scissors and I am going to cut this bottom portion off for right now. And I always like to finish off the bottom of my jars. I don't always do it on a live, and I probably won't do it today since we're kind of on a shorter time limit than normal. But I always like to finish off that bottom. Now I'm just going to continue with this corner, and maybe the back's not going to be visible. I still think it's a nice finished piece if I go ahead and finish all sides of the jar, you guys. All right, I do want to make sure that the edges of that paper get secured down really well. Okay, let's put this one on and let's see if we can match up the lines, the music sheet lines a little bit here, the best that we can. All right, and smooth it down. Oh my gosh, yes, this is going to be beautiful. Whoops, I pulled that paper a little tight. That kind of wanted to rip on me. All right, now if your jar is bigger or smaller, you just print your sheets, your printables to the size that you need, you guys. Now, do I measure them? No. I just go with it. I just eyeball it. I mean, as you can see, I had to print this pretty wide in order to get it to fit, and it was too long, but that's okay. I'm just cutting off the bottom, and we're going to make do with what we got. All right. Now, I will taper these edges and secure them down probably with some hot glue because that Mod Podge is not going to be strong enough to hold it, you know, because that paper is pretty stiff. So I'll probably run a line of hot glue under that and secure that down around the bottom edge, you guys. All right. Now, I do have just a slight little area on the back of that jar that it didn't cover. I have some scraps. Probably what I'll do is take some of that part of that paper that doesn't have any music printing on it and take a strip of that and cover over that later, okay? All right, now we are going over the top with the Mod Podge again. We want to get it sealed, okay? This Mod Podge will seal that paper. That way, if you want to display this in an area, maybe like in your kitchen or wherever, or even when you put it in storage, this will be an extra layer of protection over that music sheet so that you can just wipe it off, okay, if something gets on it. Now I'm going around that top edge and I'm really making sure that's pressed down. Now the bottom, like I said, it'll take a little bit of extra hold from our glue gun, hot glue, but we're good. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of have to mash that down for a minute. Actually, let's just go ahead and put some hot glue on it and see if we can get it to stay. We might be able to, but with it being wet, it might be a little tricky. We'll see. All right, we're just going to kind of, oh yeah, that'll work. Okay, we're tapering those edges down as we go. Good morning, Cindy and Trish. How are you? Thank you all so much for being here. We have 260 eyes watching on a Friday morning. That is amazing, you guys. We have had the most fun on these Fridays over in the Craft on the Clock group. We've had some amazing holiday-themed marathon days over in the Craft on the Clock on Fridays. And you all have really just given us some great feedback on these theme days for Fridays. And so we have one more theme day coming up for Christmas, and that's called the Great Stocking Challenge. We're doing that next Friday morning, all day Friday, and actually it starts at 6 a.m. on Friday and it goes all the way until midnight. So we have one more knockout day of holiday themed fun Fridays over there in that group, you guys. I want to be sure that you check it out. If you're not familiar with the Craft on the Clock group, I do have the link in my video description. And so I would encourage you to come check it out. And it's been such a huge, request for some themes, but we were like, okay, well, we got to do something a little bit different. So these Fridays have kind of given us exactly what we needed. And so we may continue some after the beginning of the new year. So we'll see. All right, so I don't need that whole big thing. What I'm taking, while this Mod Podge is still a little tacky, I am gonna sprinkle it a little bit with some cinnamon, just to add a little more variation, a little more interest in that music print. I don't want to go overboard. You guys have seen me go, when I grub jars, we use a lot of cinnamon and instant coffee, but we're not going that extreme today. Just a little subtle, because I don't want to take away from the design of the music sheet, because that's really the focus. This is a Way in a Manger music sheet. Wrong lid. Where did I do with the lid? That's behind my jar. So I don't want it to take away from that. All right, so let's give this a quick dry. We're not going to worry about drying it all the way, just enough to get it to our next step, okay? Now you can see on my jar, I've got wrinkles. I've got good wrinkles, but I'm okay with that. That Mod Podge little area right there is still wet. It will dry clear if you're not, familiar with how Mod Podge works. It's just like a glue, and honestly, you can use school glue. It's all about what you have. I just have a hefty supply of Mod Podge, so that's what I'm using today. But you can use what you have. You can use a little bit of school glue mixed in with a little bit of water and get the same effect, okay? I will finish off the bottom of that jar with the music scrap pieces that I have left over as well. Get that good and covered, okay? All right. Now, it's not completely dry, but I don't want to spend a whole lot of time. The rest of it will dry on its own and we'll be good. Okay, I think I can go ahead and put the top on my Mod Podge. I think I'm finished with that. I had to think about it for a second. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I have cheesecloth. And what I want to do, since this vintage little thrifted oddball piece here, good morning, Joan, how are you? Good morning, Miss Christina from the Rest Covered Cottage. Hello, Debbie and Wendy. This is going to be my top piece right here. Okay, so you can see I still have, let me hold this up, make sure it's safe for me to touch. I have, from eye level, I still have a little bit, a little bit of a gap under there. I keep holding that crooked. I'm not going to glue it on there crooked, I promise. All right, so I'm going to take this cheesecloth and I'm going to use it sort of as a little drape around the top of this, okay? And what I might be able to do, I might just be able to kind of take a strip, this cheesecloth is really thin, and I'm okay with that, but I want to make sure that it covers up there where I need it to. So I sometimes kind of fold it over on itself to make it a little bit thicker. You can even triple fold it if you want. Okay, where are my scissors? Let's cut this off, and we'll see how this works. If not, I've got a little bit more that we can add to it. Now, you can, if you want, you can add a little bit of Mod Podge, just a light coating, and kind of stick this down. Good morning, Miss Stephanie from the Vintage Pebble. How are you? Miss Terry from T's Creations and Designs. How are you guys? So excited y'all are here. I'm just going to take this around. I'm going to kind of eyeball, like measure it wise first before I glue anything down. Now, I could kind of tie this and let it drape over the side. I'm going to give you guys a good look here in just a minute. I just kind of got to use my eyeballs here to make sure I get it all right. All right, I am going to tie it for now, I think. Or am I? Let me look. I am going to give it a little tie. Okay, now I think what I'm going to do here is just for right now, I'm going to use my hot glue to kind of tack this down where I need it in a couple of spots because I want to make sure that that open glass area stays covered. Okay, I'm not going to glue it everywhere because if I need to adjust it, I still can, but I don't want it to look like it's like plastered on there. I want it to look drapey, okay? Because all of these elements I feel like that I'm using in this display today all have some sort of meaning to the Nativity, okay? So when I think about this cheesecloth, I think about maybe the swaddling cloth that maybe the baby Jesus was wrapped in. So I think I'd like to kind of keep it drapey and not look like it's so plastered to the jar, okay? So this is what we have right now. Now my lighting will glare off of this right now, but there you go. In real life, it's not going to be that shiny, okay? And you can still see the song title there just fine. Now, what we're going to do next, I have a string of lights. We need to go ahead and string this in. I probably should have put this in before I put my cheesecloth on. Oh well. I can string it under there because I didn't completely tack it down. We can manage. Okay. All right, we got 7 minutes. We're gonna wrap it up. This is gonna go quick. All right. Now, let's take this cord and let's string it through a little opening. I'm going to use the back side, what I would consider, you could totally use battery operated lights, but I don't like worrying about having to replace the batteries. So I like to use electric lights, you guys, but you can do whatever. You don't even have to put lights in it if you don't want. Totally up to you. Okay, so I'm going to use that. I am going to kind of glue down this little piece that's beside the light cord. So I don't want it to stick up too much. Okay, so let's get, I think we're done with our dryer. So I'll unplug that. And let's plug these lights in. Ah, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Okay, I'm going to set that cord right in my lap. So now what we need to do, I'm looking at my table. I had a little piece here that I thought I was going to use on top and I don't see it. So now my little lamp top, lamp shade, if you will. It's not really a lamp shade. I don't know what it is. It's just a vintage find. I'm going to put some hot glue around the top of my jar, and I'm going to be careful not to go over my light cord here, okay? And I don't know how well this will stick, honestly. If it doesn't stick, it's okay, because really this will just kind of sit on there fine enough that I won't really have to have it glued. I just wanted a little bit of extra help keeping it in place, but okay. I don't know why that's looking crooked to me. Let me make sure. I'm trying to eyeball it from different angles here. Make sure we get it on. And if it's crooked, I can straighten it up later. Okay. Now, if you don't have something like this, what you can take the lid, okay? You can take the lid of your jar and grub your jar. You all have seen me do this before. I cover it in Mod Podge. I sprinkle instant coffee crumbles on it. Crumble the instant coffee grains so that it's powdery. Sprinkle it on that Mod Podge while it's wet. Sprinkle it with a little bit of cinnamon and then let it dry. You can go back over it with another coat of Mod Podge if you want, but it makes the jar lid look so vintage, you know? So if you don't have something like this, because not everybody's going to be able to find a piece like this. This is just, you know, a rare find that I found on one of my junking trips. But you could just use a regular jar lid on top of that just fine. Or, as you've probably seen me do, on some of these jars, let me show you over here. Some of these jars over here, this has a string of lights in it. Just take your cheesecloth and drape it over the top and then make a little tie around the top of the rim. Okay, you can do that too. But I thought, I have this piece and I thought, oh, this is going to be amazing. I just need to put it all together. So now, this piece right here, you guys, I have no idea what it is. It's cast iron, I will tell you that. I got it on clearance at Hobby Lobby, okay? It was regular, I don't know, whatever it was. Does it say? Oh, you know what this is? This, you know those garden, what are they called? Gazing bowls or whatever? Like those ornamental, like, globe things that you sit in your garden. Evidently, this was part of something like that, but probably the globe got broke, right? Well, this was on their clearance for like 80, 95% off. I don't know, it was ridiculous. I think I only paid like $30 for it. But it's cast iron, like it's no cheap piece. I thought, heavens, I mean, that's amazing. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. It's been sitting in my stash for quite some time, so I could use it like this, or I could use it like this, either way, right? So whatever fits my jar. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do here, real quick. Oh, got 3 minutes. I'm going to use this to set my jar down in. Okay, now it's going to be a little bit of a weird angle right there. Is that not amazing? So you could use this in combination with all of your other nativity scene items and pieces that you put together. Use that as a little light in your scene. Now, you guys know I always love to add some type of light feature to all my projects. And so this is what we're doing today. So let me show you my other vintage finds that I'm going to pair with this in a little vignette. This candlestick. This symbolizes the angel, of course. And I think we've got more of the draping cheesecloth. And then with having this candle up high makes me think of the star, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another little strip of cheesecloth and I'm going to drape it in my vignette. I'll take a photo of this because I know you guys are kind of up from a different angle, so it's kind of hard for you to get a good view of what this will look like together. But I'm going to drape that cheesecloth around that, and then I have to pull in a wood element because we know the manger, and we know, probably the barn or the little out manger where Jesus was born was made from wood. So I have to have a wood element, you guys, which comes in with this. Is another vintage piece that I picked up on my junking finds at the same place I've picked up this and this. So I'm tying in this little element just as more decoration right in there. Okay, just to kind of pair it all together. And this is our Away in a Manger music sheet. Okay, so I also want to tie in some more wood with these little spindles kind of decorated off to the side over here. I'm just going to kind of crisscross those with the cheesecloth running through it. Now, what I did not do, and I meant to, rats, underneath this jar, I wanted to put some like Excelsior, or you could use Spanish moss, in the base right here around my jar. So I'll do that before I take a picture. But I wanted that sort of like as a reminder of maybe the hay or the straw that was in the manger when Jesus was born. So we have all elements of a nativity without your figurines or necessarily a straightforward nativity. But this could be a wonderful backdrop for a beautiful little Mary, Joseph, and a little manger scene in front of it, with all the elements that tie in naturally to the nativity that we know and love.